Hi, welcome back to the Power of Model Drawing. Now we are going to continue with our upper drawing lessons. Alright, and the questions are getting a little challenging. So it is usually your 4-mark question, or sometimes it's 5 marks. So let's look at practice problem 1, and let's break down the problem slowly and try to draw out the sentence one by one. Alright, so don't rush into the solving yet. So every time you know that you can draw the model, alright, you look at the problem, read the problem first, highlight, and then later on you break down the problem by looking at one sentence at a time. So a fruiterer had the same number of apples, oranges, and pears. After 177 apples, some oranges and pears were sold. There were 143 fruits left, and the oranges sold was twice as many as the pears sold, which means that you sold 3 times of oranges and 1 time of pears. And then the oranges left was 12 more than the apples left. So how many apples were there at first? Alright, so it looks very confusing and complicated, but let's try to break down the problem and draw out the sentence. Now the first sentence should be quite easy to draw because you know that you have the same number of apples, oranges, and pears. So you just draw 3 equal rectangles. Alright, and take note that when you do your drawing, it is never perfect. Alright, never perfect, so always be prepared to adjust your model. Alright, sometimes you find that you need to make it a bit longer, then you make longer. Right, so it's never perfect when you start drawing at the beginning. And how do I show equal number? I use a dotted line to show the same number. Okay, so we are until the first sentence. Now, after 177 apples were sold, so I'm going to cut somewhere here. 177 apples, and it's always good to label your model. So I would like to call this sold, because when you draw the model becomes your question. Means you don't need to look at the question anymore. You just look at the model. And then this will be the leftover apples. Okay? And then some oranges and pears were sold. Now, if you don't know how to draw this part, then you don't draw. Alright, so you skip. There were 143 fruits left. So if you don't know where to put the 143, then you also jump, also skip. Alright? Then what happened next? So you're until here. So the oranges sold was 3 times. So I can cut the rectangle for the oranges. I can cut something like this, 3 times. So I got 1 unit, 2 unit, and 3 units. So that will be 3 times of oranges sold. And then the pears that were sold was 1 time. So this is the 1 unit of pears that were sold. And of course, I need to label, right, where is the leftover. So this is the leftover for the oranges, and this is the leftover for the pears. Okay, and then so you're until here already. Okay, all right, now you can see the model gets a bit more clearer. All right, then the oranges left was 12 more than the apples left. Now it's always good to use some highlighters, different colors to highlight different parts of the model. So I want to show where is the leftover. What is the leftover? So I'm going to change color. So when you draw a model, you may want to think of using different colors to help you to recognize the after, right? I want to highlight what is the after model. So the after model will be something like this. This is the apples that are left, and these are the oranges that are left, and these are the pears that are also left. So you can see that you have the after model inside here, right, inside the model. So you have the before and the after together. All right. Okay, and then not only that, I can also now indicate the total fruits that are left, which is 143. Now, it's not good to just put 143. It's always good to add some more. For example, what is 143? Which is the number of fruits that are left. If you don't put the word left, you may get confused. You will think that it is the total at first, but it is a total left. All right, and then you keep reading. The number of oranges left, which is the blue color box for the orange, was 12 more. So I can actually cut here, and this is your 12 more than the apples that were left. Alright, so how many apples were there at first? So where do you put the question mark? There seem to be a lot of things on the model, and it's hard to put the question mark on the apples rectangle. So I can put my question mark beside the name, beside the apples. So be creative, right? You can always find ways to put a question mark. Alright, now the model is done already. So this is how the model looks like. So how are we going to use the model to solve the question? So the model has become your question. Alright, this is how you do. Now you can see the blue color boxes, they are the leftover fruits. So all I have to do is I can just cut here. Right, can you see the line that I cut here? And I cut here, and how many is that? That is the same as above, which is your 12. Alright, and then you can see I cut some more, and that is your 1 unit, and then this is also 1 unit. Right, so you can actually see that they all look the same. Alright, they look equal. Alright, so let me just run through again. Alright, now the oranges left was 12 more than the apples left. So that's how you have the 12 more right inside here, right? 12 more. Okay. And then if you look at the model, you can actually, if you draw properly and you draw nicely, you can actually see that, right? You can actually see the red dotted line, right? You can see the right side, they are all equal. They all look the same. So that's why you can see that you have 12 and 3 units, which is for the oranges, right, over here. And then below is also 12 and 3 units, right? And not only that, you can also see that your 12 plus 3 unit is equal to 177, right? If you look carefully, all right, you can see that you have 12 plus 3 units equal to what is above, which is 177. And you can now find what is 3 unit. So you take 177 and you minus 12. And you will get 165. Then you can find 1 unit, which is 165, and then divide by 3. So your 1 unit is 55. Okay, now I know there are a total of 143 fruits left. So what do I do? Now if you look carefully at the model, can you see that there are 3 equal parts over here? 3 empty boxes that also look the same. Alright? So what do I do? So I can call them parts, right? If I like, I can call them parts. Okay, 1 part, 2 parts, and 3 parts. So you have something like parts and units model. So when you draw a model, sometimes you find that you have run out of units to call them. Then you want to call the rectangle something else. So you can call parts. Alright, so you have 3 parts plus 12, right? And then plus another 12 and plus 2 units, right? Can you see the 2 units? Right over here, 2 units. Right, that will be how many? 35 times 2, because 1 unit is 55. So 55 times 2 is 110. So if you add all these together, that will give you the fruits that are left, which is 143. Okay, so I hope I don't confuse you. So you add all the 3 parts, right? The 3 rectangles, and you plus 12. Alright, and then plus 12 again, and plus 2 units. That will give you the total fruits that are left. Alright, so now can you find what is 3 parts? So you just add all the numbers here, and you will get 12 plus 12, and then plus 110. You get 134, which is equal to the total left, which is 143. So what is 3 parts? So 3 parts will be equal to 143, and you minus 134, and you will get 9. So your 3 parts is equal to 9. So which means that your 1 part has to be 9 divided by 3. So 1 part is 3. Alright, so you got all the important numbers already. Right? So every part is 3. Alright, so now can you solve the problem? How many apples were there at first? 177, and then you plus 3. Right? See, you have 177 apples that were sold, and then you plus 3 apples that were left, and that will give you 180 apples at first. Alright, so in this lesson, what did I do? I use colors to highlight, right? Highlight the after model. Alright, so sometimes you may want to use different colors to help you to highlight, alright, to show out some parts of the model that you want to analyze. Okay, so if you draw a good model, then the model will become your question, and there's no need to look at the question. You just study your model and work out the steps. Okay, let's go to number 2. Okay, number 2, another at least 4-mark question. Pauline had some money. She spent $29.90 and 1/5 of the remainder money on some books. She then spent 3/7 of what she had left on her lunch. And in the end, she realized that she had 1/3 of her money left. So it's very hard if you don't draw out the problem. It's hard to solve. How much money did Pauline have in the end? And how many books did she buy if every book costs $5.75? So what do I do? Well, I know I can draw a model because there are fractions all over the place, right? Whenever you see fractions, you draw your model. So what kind of model do I want to draw? I will start with a parts. I will draw a parts whole model. Why? Because usually when there's a remainder in the problem, I will think of parts whole model. Alright, so I will draw a rectangle, and this is Pauline's money. Alright, don't draw too small. And so you draw until here. Alright, and she spent $29.90. So you cut one part and you put the number inside. Alright, you can only put numbers in the boxes. You don't put labels inside. Alright, labels are always put on the outside. And she also spent 1/5 of the remainder. So where's the remainder? The remainder is on the right side. Okay, so you have 5 boxes, and she also spent 1 box of the remainder on some books. Okay, all right. Then so where have you drawn until here already? She then spent 3/7 of what she had left. So where is the leftover? The leftover is the 4 boxes that you see after the dotted line. All right, and you need to break up the fraction. Like for example, 1/5. What is 1/5? It means the remainder has 5 boxes, and 1 box is spent on some books. And then how about 3/7? She has 7 boxes left, and then 3 boxes are spent on lunch. So you look at the model, where is the leftover? The leftover is after the dotted line. All right, and what do? All right, so you want to cut into 7 boxes, but you cannot. So you drop down the leftover. All right, and then you cut into 7 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And she spent 3 boxes of what she had left on lunch. Okay, all right, so you're until here already. In the end, she realized that she had 1/3 of the money left. So the remaining 4 boxes must be the leftover. Now there is a 1/3 there. Well, if you want to draw out that fraction, you can also. And then the model becomes quite big, right? Becomes a lot of things to draw. So what I would like to do is, I can put the 1/3 of the money onto the model. So 1/3 of the money left. So which means that if you put a fraction inside the model, right, then there must be 1 whole, which is all the money. So 1 whole must be 3/3. So you need to indicate the 3/3. So every time you put a fraction onto your model, then do take note that you need to know where is your 3/3, where is your 1 whole. Your 1 whole is the total money, all right, all the money at first. Okay, how much money did Pauline have in the end? So your question mark will be here. And how many books did she buy if 1 book costs $5.75? So part B, you can't put the question mark in the model, then you don't put. Alright, so the model has become your question. So if you have put everything inside your model, then the model has become your question already. So which means that you don't need to look at the question anymore, and you just look at the model. So what do? Whatever that you drop down, okay, can you see the 4 boxes and the 7 boxes below? Right, whatever you drop down, you have to make them equal. So I call it 7 units. Why 7 units? Because at the bottom, you have 7 boxes. Then inside every box here, I call 4 units, because above you see 4 boxes. Okay, that's how you make them equal. So on top 28 units, below you also have 28 units. And of course, do the same for the whole model. Okay, do the same for, alright, for the model. If you cut something into 7 units, then the whole model must also do the same. Alright, then what do you do next? Alright, then you look at the model, and then can you see that your 1/3, okay, your 1/3 left, 1/3 of the money left is actually 16 units. Right, 1/3 of the money left is 16 units. So what is all the money? All the money must be 16 times 3, that will be 48 units. So she has a total of 48 units of money at first. Alright, then you study carefully. Alright, you look at the model, and what else can you do? All the money is 48 units, and you minus all this, okay, which is 35 units, right? 35 units. Agree? That will give you how many units is $29.90. So you take 48 and you minus 35, that will give you 13 units. And your 13 units is equal to $29.90. So your 1 unit must be, so $29.90, and you divide by 13, your 1 unit is $2.30. And once you can find what is 1 unit, you can solve the problem. So how much money did Pauline have in the end? Which is 16 units, right? She has 1/3 of the money left, which is 16 units. So 16 times $2.30, and you will get $36.80 left. So that's the money that she has left. Alright, so you got part A already. Alright, how many books did she buy if 1 book costs $5.75? Then you look at how much she spent on all the books. She spent $29.90 or 13 units, and also plus another 7 units. So which means that she spent a total of how many units? A total of 20 units on the books, right? So how much is 20 units? So 20 units will be $2.30, and then you times 20, and you will get $46. So she spent $46 on all the books. And if one book costs $5.75, then how many books? So you take $46 and you divide by $5.75. Alright, so you should not get a funny number. If you get a decimal or some strange number, then you know that your answer is wrong. So let's check and see whether hopefully we don't get a funny number. So if 46 divided by 5.75, and you get a very nice number, which is 8 books. So she bought 8 books, right? And that's how you draw out the problem. Okay? So this is a 4-mark question. Not easy if you don't have a method. Not easy if you don't know how to draw. If you just rely on your own logic to try to solve it, you will take a very long time, and along the way you may make some mistakes. So it's always better to draw out the problem, and then you can solve faster. And number 2, you can also avoid any mistakes, any careless mistakes. Alright, okay, so we come to the end of this upper level drawing lesson. So stay tuned to the next week, next Thursday, as we continue to learn how to draw out the problems. So hopefully, right, Ms. Dong will like you to practice, right? Keep practicing your model drawing, right? Keep drawing out the problem. The more you draw, the better you get, right? And if you want to do well for the exam, what is the method when you tackle your problem? What should you always think of when you look at the problem? You should always think about, number 1, can I draw model? So when do I draw model? When you see fractions, more than, 2 times, 3 times, or when you see percentage, you can change the percentage into fractions. So every time you see some clues, some keywords that allow you to draw model, then you should immediately jump into the model drawing. And how do you draw the model? Sentence by sentence. Alright, and then at the end of the whole drawing, you study your model and then use that to work out the steps. Even if you can't get the answer, you should at least be able to get some meta marks. Alright, so we come to the end of the drawing lesson, and stay tuned for the next lesson on Thursday.